Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. We have a special treat for you today. This is a 1931 Ford Model A. It does not completely have the original finish on it. It has been restored. The top half of this thing has been resprayed. As you can see, the old style lacquer paint, it's checking and cracking, and there's not a whole lot we can do for that, but it's going to the Piston and Power Show at the huge IX Center here. I believe it's at the end of March, beginning of April. It's highly oxidized and worn. The owner wanted it polished up and looking all glossy. As you can see here, there's this ring here. We weren't entirely sure at the time whether that ring was because it had been polished once before there and it was glossy there and dull everywhere else. But we figured we would find out for sure once we got started. As you can see, the running boards here, the rubber needs cleaned and protected. Otherwise, for a 1931 Ford, this thing looks awesome. My dad has a 29, so it was like being a kid again seeing one of these. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to use a coarse Rupes blue pad because this is old school lacquer type paint. And we're using 3D1. Going to do a little test area here on the black of this fender, or wheel well, or whatever you want to call it. It's a fender to me. As you can see, it's clearly single stage. It's definitely lacquer. The towels also pick up all the transfer and all that cool stuff. We'll do a little 50-50 test shot here. We'll be able to bring this thing back, no problem at all. Bring it in close for a first-person view, and you can see that line clearly. This is a huge turnaround. Now we're going to work on to the rumble seat. Yes, folks, this was called a rumble seat back in the day. I think it's still called a rumble seat now, but it's just the back seat to me. Just happened to be outside. Same thing applies. We're going to do a crisscross pattern, which is equal to 2 passes. Not applying a lot of pressure. It's not quite normal correction pressure because it's lacquer. I'd have to say it's just slightly less than a firm handshake. You can see making a huge turnaround in this. So we're going to keep on going. Like I was showing, the pads are going to turn the color of the vehicle or the color of the paint that you're polishing, and so will the towels. And as you notice here, this is sped up really fast. If I would have kept this normal time with all the footage that we shot, it would have been a 40-minute video, and not even I wants to watch a 40-minute video in one shot. If it was broke up over across a series, it would be cool. But in terms of, seeing what's been done here, we sped it way up and we got it down to about 16, 17 minutes. The turnaround here is going to be exceptional. I'm sure the owner is going to be thrilled. As you can see, it's still cracked over here, but it's shiny and glossy. Now we're going to show you how we protected and cleaned, or I should say cleaned and protected the rubber on the running board here. Not knowing what kind of rubber this was, I didn't want to use anything super aggressive. I know the best tire cleaner that we've ever used is made by Vonix. It's called Delete. So I figured I'd just grab the Adams tire and rubber cleaner and soft detailing brush. It's not real stiff. It's stiffer, but it's still soft. And we would go around and remove any browning from the rubber on the running boards. I'm going to use a waterless wash here to essentially rinse any surfactants left over from the Adams tire rubber cleaner. On something this classic or antique, we did not want anything to be left behind. We realized after we did that we were still getting a little bit of browning, so we thought we would just do it one more time, do it twice, and see the foaming that you're getting is more white than brown this time. And we knew that after 2 passes we would be good to go. We're going to essentially rinse it again one more time with the waterless wash here. Even without any kind of protection, these things look night and day as to how they looked prior to deep cleaning the rubber on these things. And then we are going to be using a panel prep just to remove any kind of polymers or any kind of surfactant that might be left over, because we are going to be using a nano ceramic based trim coating by Tack System, and we want it to be able to bond to nothing but the rubber. This is Tack System Seal, non-diluted, into a microfiber applicator pad. It's thick, it's creamy, it's quite viscous. Just going to put it on the applicator and rub it in thoroughly. It really absorbed the Tack System Seal. And I don't know if it's coming through on the camera here, but this night and day of how it looked prior to doing all this is just absolutely astounding. And if it's too glossy, and we don't want it that glossy, we'll take a microfiber here and just knock it back just a hair. It'll still dry with a natural satinish type look. That looks amazing. Now we're going to clean and protect this little, it's really not a suitcase and it's really not a trunk, but it's something that's covered in vinyl or leather on the back of this, and it was highly browning a little bit, and it had some staining, and we wanted to try to clean and dress this up as best as we can, because we know the thing on the back of this 31 Ford is probably very close to 100 years old, which is insane for me to even say. You know, I started spraying in 1989 or 1990, my junior year of high school when I went to vocational school. And I don't know if we ever actually polished lacquer back then. We polished enamel, base clear, but it was wild to work on a vehicle that's almost 100 years old. Taking my time and being gentle and using the Adams tire and rubber cleaner again. And as you can see, as I'm cleaning this thing, it's getting deep and rich and black again. Gonna keep on working my way around this thing. I wanted to go ahead and get this done and get the protection on it. So if by some strange chance a little bit of compound slung or ended up on it, it would just wipe right off. We didn't have to worry about it being stained. And it's simply just too much of in the way to try and plastic or mask it off the way the rear of the vehicle is. And I thought when I got the straps that go in those little loops off that it would probably just lift off of there. And it does not. It's bolted to that frame. And I in no way, size, shape, or form wanted to unbolt anything that has been bolted down to a 100-year-old vehicle. Sometimes you got to be smart, folks. And I didn't want the risk of anything, especially on an antique like this. Just like the running boards, we're applying a panel prep, but we're going to use a little bit something different to protect this with. This is Apex Surface Protection Blue Collar Coatings BC2. This is a 5H spray ceramic with 1 year durability. This stuff is awesome. We've been using it for about a year now, and it is our go-to for an entry-level spray coating. And as you can see, the way the outside of this storage box is looking, it looks absolutely amazing. This box looks absolutely killer on the outside. I am sure the owner will absolutely do flips because he's not expecting this. This wasn't included as part of the package. This is just something myself I had to do in order to be able to be satisfied and maybe over deliver on this project. So you can see I brought out Adams Polishes Patriot Wax. You can't even buy this stuff anymore, I just found out. Since this is lacquer and it's an antique, we realized that you were going to have to use some sort of a paste wax, and we wanted to use a premium quality paste wax that didn't have a bunch of ceramic in it or graphene, because it does not work well with lacquer or single stage finishes, especially the graphene part. I am of the opinion and belief that a ceramic coating is just not a viable, realistic option for lacquer. Lacquer is very porous. It is very permeable to water, which is one of the reasons it cracks. It's another reason they don't use it anymore, because it did not have, it would maintain durability in terms of it adhering to whatever you were spraying it to, but it would let moisture in and eventually rust and crack from all the absorption and shrinking and expanding that it would do. So we wanted to use a premium wax. We have a lot of other paste waxes that we do have made by Fireball, but they were all in one way or another with graphene or ceramic, or at least what we had on hand at the time. It's not very often you're going to get a lacquer-based painted vehicle in your shop, let alone one that is 100 years old. The first person view here looks great after the paste wax. We're going to get around the vehicle, won't take long, and this is the finished product. This is after it's been completely waxed, after the polish, and this thing looks absolutely astounding for how for how oxidized it was. The owner told me it was sitting in a barn. But this thing looks absolutely shiny and glossy and much, much, much better. I really appreciate everybody watching our videos and the commentary and feedback that I've gotten back on some other things. As you can see, the cracking's still there. You know, we didn't promise miracles, but it is still a complete turnaround. Like I was saying, I appreciate everybody watching the videos as we try to grow our channel. I appreciate any feedback anybody has. My name is John. We are Knight and Shining Armor Paint Correction, Ceramic Coatings, and Detailing. We will catch everybody in the next video. It's Friday, folks. Have a great, safe weekend, y'all.